Alright, I'm going to change the coils and spark plugs on this 2003 Kia Sorento with the 3.5 liter V6. First step is to always unhook the battery. Don't really need to remove it for this step, but getting it out of the way always helps. So, take it out quickly here. Don't mind the mess in the garage. I have about 4 different projects going on, not to mention this thing. I'm missing 2 of the bolts in this cover, so I only have 4 to take out. You'll probably have 6. Let's go in there just a hair. Bring this over here. Clear it down so we don't lose any more of the bolts. Unhook the throttle cables. Five bolts. My bolts are coming out a little easier than most will, because I've had this thing apart about 6 times in the last 2 weeks from where I sank it in a water hole. As you can tell, it's a little dirty under here. Pop this one off. Take a little there, just kind of pop that off there like that. There. This one twist. This will pull it way out of the way like this here. I'll start these bolts back in so I don't lose them. I've been known to lose bolts. If I put them back where they came from, I'm a little less likely to do that. Got some electricals to unhook here. That one. That one. Always have it here like this. Remove the dipsticks so that you got room to work. This one here, just throw it over there. Now I'll hold it all out of its own way. Hook one vacuum hose. Mine is broken, so I can't remove that hose. So, back in here with some 10mm. Again, everything I'm working on is pretty loose because it has been apart. Get that out of the way. Be an 12mm. Make it free. Can't use the extension on this. Move this down out of our way. I'll usually use air to do this. Makes it a little faster for me, but I don't want you guys to have to listen to that air ratchet in the video. So I'll do it old school. I may blind you once or twice with that light. If I do, I apologize. This one's a little tricky to get to with your fingers, but you can get to it as you put that down there. Now, there should be a bolt right there, but my little plastic cover's broken, so there's no bolt in it. So I only have to remove 4 instead of 5. And back 2. One can be a little tricky. You don't have a lot of room. Now, this back one right back here, I leave it kind of loose so I can get it with this nut driver. But the very first time I took it apart, it was a little harder to get out. So what I do is take one of these little wobble extensions. As you can see, put that on there. Allows it to wobble. Take that. I usually put the extension on, the socket on first, then shove the extension in there, and it allows you to get to it with a ratchet. Now, this gets kind of tight. I bend that a little bit out of the way, but it will come out. As simple as that. I'm to the 3 coils and the spark plugs on this side. Today I'm going to be replacing this coil and this coil. I already replaced this one. Unplug all the wires. Make sure you keep track of which one comes off which. Short guy back there, and there like that. Unplug connectors. That's all down out of the way. The other side is actually a little bit more tricky. Pull that coil out. I'd suggest doing one at a time if it's your first time doing it, so you don't get things misplaced, lost, things like that. Doesn't really matter where each coil goes, they're all the same. Oh, the boot stayed down in there. It's a new coil, as you can tell. That fits a little harder. It'll give me some fits. Find me a pair of pliers laying in this mess that I have here. That should have came apart like this one did. However, this was the new coil, so its boot staying a little tighter on the spark plug. There's a little spring down in there. If it comes apart like that, make sure you don't lose it. There we go. Gonna have to get the ratchet on that one. I haven't had that coil out recently. Pop it free real quick. There's that little swivel comes in play again. Little wobble extension. Hands down one of the greatest inventions ever. Laying my bolts down there in that battery tray, which I had a battery leaking acid, so as you can tell it needs to be replaced. See how much easier the old coil came out? Because this boot is swollen here. You can replace just this boot. But I got my coils for $24 a piece on Rock Auto. There wasn't a whole lot of point in buying an $8 boot. Go ahead and change these plugs out. Break them all loose. I'm having a misfire on cylinder 2, which is this plug getting ready to come out right now, and also on cylinder 3. My spark plug socket's missing a rubber, so I got to use this little thing here. Grab the spark plug, since my socket won't hold it. And that plug there is looking pretty black. I'd say it's definitely not firing. Explains my misfire. Whether or not it's the coil or the spark plug, I'm not sure. But I'm just going to replace everything. You can tell this is leaking some oil as well. Down around that valve cover gasket. I guess that will be one of my next projects. But looking at the tips of the plug, you can tell one's firing, one definitely isn't. Lay them over here. Get this last one out. Almost forgot one. There, that one's not too bad. I already went ahead and pre-gapped these plugs. That way, for the purpose of this video, I can just drop them down in there. I took a set of NGK plugs out that have only been in there for about 20,000 miles. I'm putting in a set of Autolite double platinum. See if they do any better. Tried to cheap out the first time, and this is what it got me 20,000 miles later. So, instead of $4.50 each plugs instead of $1.60. Save that old coil because it's still good. That one's not misfiring. Might keep it for a spare. Not bad. Oh yeah, they can fit down in there a lot nicer than the old plug with, or old coil was really just set right down in there. New one, you got to kind of push it down and get it pop on the spark plug as it should be. Just tightening with this nut driver. Probably not torque to spec like it ought to be, but it ain't gonna go nowhere. Straight bolts. Pretty much everything on this is a 10mm or a 12mm. So, a couple tools is all you really need to do this job. If I'm not getting very good footage, I apologize. It's my first time using these new sunglasses that record video. I've been tempted to leave that plastic cover off of there, but it's not too bad to take off, so I might as well just go ahead and put it back on. Woo! About lost that again. Now, put your plug wires back on. When I changed the plug wires on this about 20,000 miles ago when I did the spark plugs, I removed that bracket right there and it allowed me to pull the spark plugs out. They got a really tight way that they're ran back there. I pulled that bracket off, cut the ends off of them, just pulled them through the factory holders. When I reran them, I just routed them back in the back here with the other wiring harness. Make it that much faster to change them out the next time. And it hasn't seemed to have caused any problems, but I am fighting a misfire right now, so I could be wrong. around. That is essentially it. This side can go back together. As soon as I remember where I laid my plastic cover. Oh, there it is. This is the part that gets a little sometimes tricky. I've done it enough the last couple of days that I can pop it right in there. Make sure that that's down in there. Just got to kind of push it down in. That easy. Again, put it all back together here. Start that one. Start that one. The next side, the other side there I should say, is the part that's a little more tricky because the throttle body has to come off. The top one, you almost got to reach in there with your fingers, get it started by hand because the nut driver sits on it at a little bit of an angle. It can be a little bit of a pain. Move it around so it gives me. I'll go ahead and tighten them all down. Let's take a video, I'll pretend like I'm tightening that one. Alright, that one's tightened down. Water fell down in there, got caught. Oh, this is back here. Run this one in finger tight so it holds my bracket in place. Well, if you're not careful, this will fall out of this plastic thing here. Don't allow it to do that. This only goes back in one way. Pretty simple. Gotta keep that cable tight. Twist it back down. Now that is ready. Move across here to the other side. Should need the same tools. Gotta remove the air box on this side. Tight enough, loose enough. We've got a couple things we got to unplug here. Lid's out. This cove not due to be replaced. Got some water in it. Alright. Now, it's the part that comes a little tougher. Got to remove four bolts out of the throttle body. Come off there now. And hook all these electricals up. So I have to move the electrical system out of the way. I'm not even going to touch those hoses there. You can get the plugs out of this side without removing this, but it's a real pain in the butt, and for all the longer that it takes to do this, you might as well take it off. I'd recommend buying a gasket, because the gasket that was on this just came apart, as you can see. That will cause an air leak for sure. So I have to clean that up. Where did I put my 10 mil? The foil side is the easy side for sure. Pull that bracket out of there. Get that hose off of there. I need a better pair of pliers. There you go. Hate these clips. I believe I can keep that one there. There's a coolant line there, so I like to knot and hook those. As you can see, this side has not been apart as recently. So, it's a little more labor intensive. One bolt that's bigger, 13. Kind of odd. One of these. Wide, 14. Guess I should have left that up there. So after I got this off, it's been easier. This is why I like my air. Put my the air in there would be off. Brackets out of the way. Back to our good old taking our plastic cover out again. Now, lay that down there out of my way. I think I went off and left my cell phone in there. Can't quite get that in my hand. Oh yeah. It's always that top one that's a little tricky. Same goes for this one. Oh, luckily I left it loose the last time. If you have trouble getting it out, you can remove that hose right there. Gets a little quicker access to it. That's all the ones that's got to come out to get this out. Slides right out. This is the part that becomes a real pain if this intake was up on here, throttle body. Getting it out, you can see it'll come, but you're really going to have to force it out of there. So it's easier to take those 4 bolts out. It really is this simple. A lot of guys say you got to take all this off to get to this stuff, but that's excessive. Awful excessive. Now, when I get back to the part where I got to put this throttle body back on, I'm going to have to run in town and get a gasket, so I'll have to shut the video off, go get the gasket. but see what those plugs look like. Well, I had a cylinder 3 misfire too. So, got 1, 2. This would be cylinder 3. You can tell it definitely wasn't firing. So, hopefully, these new plugs and coils solve it. If not, good chance I got injector stuck open. That one's been firing. Push it down on there, make sure it's good and tight. Got her click in. There is no reason you couldn't run that motor without these plastic covers, but hold it. That one's broke. Guess it won't be getting that back bolt put back in it. Fine by me. That's the one that's a pain in the rear end anyhow. There we are. Take my tools out. Get those in. Put it in. Might as well get an air filter while I'm in town too. That one's looking a little rough. Oop, just dropped that. Luckily, I heard it hit the ground. Back on here. There we go. Hey, Jeffrey. Well, I'm basically back to where I Need to put this intake back on, so I'll have to stop the video and I'll start it back up once I go get the gasket. Alright, I'm back. I went ahead and put the throttle body back on. Forgot to put the glasses back on before I did that, so. But I just went and got a new gasket, scraped it all off, put a new gasket on there. Standard stuff. Put the 4 bolts in it. I haven't hooked any of the hoses or anything back up to it, other than this little bracket right here. That way you know where we're at in this ordeal. Put this bracket back in. That's the big one. Remember, this bracket had one bolt that was bigger. Don't really know why. Gotta get it lined up perfectly down in there. My opinion, the hardest part about this whole thing is putting these 2 little brackets on, because you gotta get them lined up. Yes, right. There's that one. I like to put things in as far as I can with my fingers. Definitely take this bracket off before you remove that throttle body if you do this. Unlike how I took the throttle body off and then took the bracket off. That's a lot easier. This is the only bolt that is not a 10 or a 12. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. Now I can plug my things back in where they belong. All electrical is back. That goes down there. No leftover bolts in there, except for this one that I did not put back in the plastic cover because the cover was broken. Well, I forgot to get the new air filter, so I'll have to put that in at a later date. Put this back in that hole. Air intake hose. Back in there. I have to do a little bit of wiggling. Loosen it some more. Loosen it up some more. Don't want to go on. These types of clamps too. There it is. Here those. In, tighten her down. I put just a touch of forma gasket on with that new gasket, just because I like to be sure. Of course, that clamp is messed up, don't you know? Oop. These bolts back out. Put the throttle cable and the cruise control cable back on. And the throttle cable first. It is that simple. Now there's a little bit of adjustment here to adjust the slack that's in your throttle pedal, and you can actually idle it up just a little bit with this as well if you'd like. This thing idles normally at about 800 RPM. With the misfire it's had, I came out and just tightened this up, pulled that tight like this. Tight. As you can see, that open throttle up, pulled all the way tight. Now I'll let it sit there and run about 1500. So I slack it off and pull it tight to where it doesn't move at all, and then tighten it down right there, and that leaves you at the factory idle with no slop at all in your throttle pedal. A lot of slop in that. I'll check that. Might come off when I put it in there. Nope. Alright. Put that on. There, now it slops out of it. I'll do the same thing with this, because this is the cruise control. So I adjust it to where that's just a little tight. Snug it down. Put this little bracket back in like that. Down in that little hole. Please excuse the sloppy video. I don't generally do videos like this, so I can imagine it's not going to be the best footage. Go ahead and put my battery back in before I put my plastic cover back on, and then we'll start it up. See what happens. I'll go down in there. I guess I could take that whole way out. Done with that one, done with that one. Extension 13. Good and tight. Battery terminals. Oop. I done lost my red cover somewhere. Who knows where. Don't really care where. Good and tight. Find my keys. Those are the wrong keys. I'm back with the right keys. You can see that's my lawnmower that I off-road. Let's give this thing a start and see what happens. Fire right up. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this back up. You can see I've got my idle down. I'm going to spray a little bit of brake parts cleaner. Well, maybe not. Make sure I don't got no leaks. It's making a little bit of extra fuel down in the cylinder. No check engine light. Guess I will shut it off, and I'm going to put that plastic cover back on after I make sure all runs well. Thanks for watching.